Okay, so in this video, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to finalize kind of the details of the body, and then Dynamesh everything together, kind of work out the kinks of this. Okay, so here we go. So mainly what I'm going to use for this part is the clay buildup brush, and I modify it slightly by just taking that focal shift down so it has just a nicer fall off, and so it's not so harsh, but it still has that kind of organic feel to it. And then I'm just going to be using the move tool, maybe the pinch or the J cut brush, and just to kind of get those landmarks set and kind of polish this thing out. Okay, here we go. Yeah, everything's still really low. Just kind of defining some areas like the collarbone up to the neck. I know that these are still separate things, but we can kind of start bringing things together now. Just trying to get that landmark of the rib cage, and then have everything kind of pull around where the belly button will be. Again, I don't want anything too detailed with such a stylized character as this, so we'll start pushing some things down. Like this should maybe go just a bit lower. This could go out just a bit. I'm trying to stay loose still, not focusing on any details. Yeah. Let's turn off these hands and hide these arms a little bit. I'm just trying to get that torso to feel right. It still feels kind of mushy. Hitting those landmarks. Maybe just move this down just a titch more. And try to simplify that shape so it actually goes kind of out and out, modify that S just a bit. Because nothing can be too defined, especially in a relaxed torso. want to continue, we want to continue this, the breast, so it kind of curves up, makes it kind of a half C and folds into the body. There we go, that's better. You keep seeing me change my brush size. I change it quite often. I just hit S and it just brings up the size menu, and under your mouse or under your pen, your cursor. I do that quite often. The other thing is start to define the shoulder blades a little bit. Just little hints of detail go a really long ways. Want to make sure that this stays fairly stylized. So I'm not going to go. I don't want to have too much detail in there. I just want to have little hints of detail. Especially this stuff really doesn't matter too much, but just for practice sake and for learning anatomy, doing a good sculpt, a good polished sculpt of even stylized, not stylized but designed anatomy, where you're understanding the relationships between muscles and things like that. Again, I just want kind of some hints of, the way that this flows. So it comes over, over the top. Has a muscle right here that goes over the kneecap. Well, not the kneecap, but the thigh. I don't need to say all that. I just need to have kind of shapes that replicate that. The ab muscles kind of just flow right around here. Just, give us kind of a secondary shape in there. Let's kill the arms again. This shape's kind of getting a little bit too noticeable. I want to simplify that just down a little bit. You want that muscle kind of standing out. This is way too prominent. Pull that out, pull that in. Just little things. And these, some of this stuff we'll take care of once we, once we get into refining the shape, actually. And I'm trying to make sure as I'm doing like these little things that it still is going to have a good like mainly seamless transition. You know, you see this shape here could just be worked out a little bit better so it's smooth all the way down, you know. And, you know, these three muscles that are all in here don't really need to be defined. So I just want to, as I'm kind of combing over this, I want to make sure that like my proportions are still right. That things aren't getting too detailed. Like this is getting way too much detail when I don't really need that. I mean, this can be set in one shape instead of, you know, it's got all these little tiny shapes. So I'm going to start trying to simplify some of that. You know, and still have it read subtly that muscles are there, but not as drastic as I have it. When I use the J cut brush, I'm making sure the jack cut brush, I'm making sure Lazy Mouse is on. It performs a little bit differently than it is when it's just standard off. Has a little bit cleaner results. That's just a little bit low. And I'm spending time on this. Like, the legs will be hidden under her jeans, but if there's form under there, then, you know, when I project the jeans on top of it, it'll actually it'll look a lot better. I don't want anything like too extreme, so it's drawing attention. And then I'm just smoothing out the rest and just trying to get, you know, maybe use the pinch to pull up a little bit. So I'm making sure that I'm still getting that angle, you know, from the inside to the top, but not too much because I don't want it, you know, working on Disney Infinity for so long, it was just like this natural thing that I would start to do with my characters is put these planes on them. And I've had to really kind of focus to make sure that I'm staying away from doing that, because one, I don't want to always make Disney Infinity characters, which I'm not anymore. But I'm also want to make sure that I can have diversity in my models, so it's not all the same repetitious thing. You know, sometimes I see a lot of artists and you can tell that they're mainly using the same model over and over from their base mesh to their final product, and it's, you know, there's some differences, but overall it's not very, there's not a ton of there's not a ton of variety, and that's something that I'm trying to make sure that I can do, is have that variety. Really, I'm just going over and making sure that I'm hitting the landmarks and that nothing actually stands out too much, especially just in like the T-pose. But I do want some subtle hints of like, oh, that's where her shoulder blades are. That's where that's where her ribs are. This is her stomach. You know, things like that. You know, that will help define her, even if in the end it's really quite smooth. Some things I'll just wait to do, like, you know, refiner neck, until I'm merging everything together. Like the ankles here and stuff, I will wait until I actually merge these together to define them a little bit better, because right now it's a little bit just too hard to get that definition without, you know, ruining the rest of the foot. But just giving some subtle hints of where it is. Again, you don't want to have anything that has too much detail where you don't want attention. You know, these are you want some design in it, but you also don't want to call the attention to the ankle or the knee or the, you know, some things you want attention to, most things you don't. And just refine this just a little bit. I mean, this will be more refined once once it's all Dynameshed together, but I just want, you know, that shape to kind of swoosh down more. Take it from the side, you know, make sure that it's not too crazy. You know, define it again, define areas that I want defined again. Like this part of the back will be a little bit more pushed in, and then up on the neck will actually kind of maybe smooth out. And you could add like these bones, but because I don't want that much detail, I'm not going to add that to it. Just looking at her, I think I might want to raise those, you know, where she's pinching right there, just up a little bit. And it kind of has a cascade of doom, 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 whoosh. You know, things, I wanted like a nice flow from her rib cage to her thighs to her inner calf and down. That's just, you know, this is part of the rhythm that I'm trying to pick up. Again, here, you know, come down, maybe pull this out just a little bit so it kind of, you know, this is a good line right here, just falls down. You know, when I kind of have that same line, pull back just a little bit. Just some design choices that you're trying to make that have real meaning and that have purpose, instead of just trying to like, oh, well, she has muscles right here, or she has this right here. You know, the abs kind of almost kind of like a squished donut where it gets squished in the sides around the belly button. Again, I don't want there to be too much detail right there. I want this point to sink in a little bit lower than the front. So if you're looking at this, it's actually kind of more diagonal where the thin point is here, the thin point is here, so they're not coming in at the same point. arms. Oops, I don't want to Dynamesh this, so I will undo it. Turn Dynamesh off for now, so I don't accidentally do that again. For the arms, they're mainly all the detail that I want. I'll just do some quick defining of areas again, like make sure I get that elbow. Show how the the upper arm is going into the elbow crest there, maybe even have small indentation. Remove some of the planes that I put in, and that's about it for the arms. Maybe pull in just some subtlety for those triceps. The bicep, but again, I don't want her to feel really muscly. I just want her to feel fairly normal, but designed as well. Push in this just a titch so that you can see the deltoid to the tricep. I'm going to fix this kind of back area here a little bit. That will be fixed more when I'm actually Dynamesh these things together. Okay, then lastly, I want to make sure that the breasts are okay. Okay, I want to make sure that breast shape is okay. I might make these just a titch bigger, actually. I'm going to do an inflate instead of this. Go down to deformation and inflate this, maybe just a couple. Do better. And this is just so I can get a little bit more shape out of her. And she's going to wear a bra, so that's where they're, instead of, it would kind of go more flat here, and then, but because they're going to be kind of pushed up and pushed together, I'm keeping them a little bit more bubbly than I normally would. And you're going to see that just right here, just like the kind of the, as she's wearing a strapless bra underneath her shirt. And pull that in. And that will be kind of a me transition, a smooth transition, where the fat starts meeting with the muscle. Okay. I'm going to just make the point where the nipple is so I can remember, just call that out just a titch more. Ooh, that's a bit much. Anyways, that looks kind of funky, but it's okay. Maybe push this out to the side because it's getting pushed back. And lifted. Separate and lifted. I'm not going to have the nipples showing. I just wanted a landmark. Okay. And that will probably do it for my, the detail that I want. Let's go ahead and Dynamesh this together. things I'm concerned about is getting, I want this to actually feel like it's coming into each other. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate these just ever so slightly. Turn on my so when I Dynamesh them, I can actually push them back in so it feels like there's some connection. Maybe just a hair more. So I just don't want the Dynamesh to kind of blur those things together. I'm going to fix that so it doesn't look like she's got some huge crack, but it's actually things that are coming together. X, turn back symmetry on. You know, I go back and check the silhouette. Everything's got a nice flow to it. It's got this nice kind of zigzag to her, straight, more curves. Nothing's calling too much attention, which I like. Same with the profile. It's got a nice flow from the back of the spine to the front to the back. Yeah, so that's okay. I'm gonna go ahead and save this again. Before I Dynamesh it, and now I'm going to Dynamesh everything together, even the neck. So I'll go to my Dynamesh over in geometry, turn off groups, turn up the resolution to be a bit higher. I might even do a duplicate of this just in case I want to go back and fix something. Let's do maybe around 600, 640, 50. I might go just a titch higher just because in these crevices it's starting to like do some weird pinching and I want it just to be a little bit cleaner. I could turn on polish. And the reason I don't is because I want to have a little bit more control over what edges are really sharp and what edges aren't, because like it'll make this a really harsh edge, and I don't necessarily want that. It's just there because I wanted the ability to shape it. So let's just go a little bit higher, see what that does. Okay, that looks a lot better. This is something that I could start working with. So right away, what I'm going to do is fix the chest first, blend everything else together, refine, maybe go up a subdivision, and then I'm going to start with the head. I kind of want to have the feeling that there's skin that kind of holds on to this. And because she's got still the smaller breasts, it's not going to be kind of an overlap. It's actually going to be more of a gradual thing. So I can smooth out this so it has that kind of rolls back into it. I just make some refinements to feel like it's actually kind of coming across the chest and laying there. It's kind of got some weird flat parts, so I'm going to just try to bulge things out just a little bit. Go up into the neck, start smoothing this stuff out so I can refine it. And oops. This I wanted just a lot smoother transition between the neck and, you know, because it's actually got this big muscle that folds out this way. I don't want to define it, but I do want, you know, to make sure that my design choices don't negate that muscle is there. I want to feel like it is there actually. Gonna have the neck pull up from right here. Let's try to kind of sculpt these muscles out just a little bit, but then push them back so they're not calling too much attention. Push that up a little bit. A lot of just little refinements that you do, but again, this is what I think is at least my favorite way of doing things, is just going from really low to high. That way you're focusing on the core essentials of everything and not the details. You don't want to end up like something looks wrong and you don't know why, but it's most likely just missing some core anatomy or core foundation to make things look right. And the breast kind of rolls up into the armpit. I'm just going to try to subtly show that. Again, it's just a little balance of, you know, trying to bring real anatomy into these figures, especially these, you know, these stylized figures. I'm thinking, let me check them. I think this looks just a little too long. Blur that mask a few times. I just want to, you know, basically shrink this down into it. So that forearm's looking, or that bicep area is just looking really long. I'll fix the forearms to bring them out some more, but yeah, that probably feels about right. that. Blur over. Move, you know, where I'm making it longer. Pull that out just a bit. Okay, that feels like it has better proportions. Turning off my Dynamesh again, so I'm not going to Dynamesh that's by accident. And just smoothing things out, and then I'll kind of move things around and define shapes again. I like using the clay brush too, just feels, it's got kind of a nice subtlety about it. Oops. I do want to turn off the RGB on it. It just feels a little bit more organic and doesn't get as messy as the clay build-up brush. And then I'll, you know, that's obviously calling too much attention to it, so I'll just, you know, take the trim brush and trim it back just a titch, smooth it out. Gonna smooth out this transition a bit more. You don't really see that on top of the shoulder. I just want to kind of hint that it's there with my curves. Maybe pinch this whole section just a little bit. Show the bicep is here. So it's more of a triangle pointing forward. Okay, still getting kind of a high ridge plane there, which I don't really want. Pull this back. Just again to see the muscle back here, not the muscle, but the bone. The back of the forearm. And then define this inner pit here. So I know that there's like just a lot of like little tweaking that I do. Make this transition just a little bit cleaner so it kind of rolls up into it. And it's just these little really, really subtle moves. And I thought this was just me, like, oh, I just tweak things a lot, or, you know, I just noodle around with it until it looks right. You know, I watch a lot of tutorials still, like, you know, I'm teaching, but I'm still taking advantage of like learning, especially stuff that's kind of out of my element. Like, you know, doing something realistic. And I watched Frank Zing's his character portrait, like doing a realistic character portrait. You know, that was, I highly recommend that one to anyone. I mean, it's one of my favorite tutorials that I've seen on Gumroad or anywhere actually. And you know, a lot of the time he's just doing these subtle tweaks to refine the character to get the likeness the way that he's looking for it. And it's, you know, it just kind of shows that like there's no trick to like for perfection. Pretty much you have to do the work. You have to put in the time to make something look good, feel right, So anyways, I was appreciative of seeing that that was, it's not just me that noodles around. But it's not really noodling, but it's more just taking time to get the shapes that I want, get the look that I want, get the feel that I want. Again, I could go and define all these muscles, but I really just don't want to. I want little hints that they're there, little suggestions, basically. Maybe at the end of this course, I'll do a what I recommend for more ZBrush tutorials. Then it will just be the ones that I've personally purchased and bought. There's a few that I've purchased that haven't been any good to me, just because they haven't really taught anything. They're just shown, it's like a speed sculpt of, they're watching a sped up time lapse of something. So I'm not super into those because I want to know the techniques that they're using to get to where they are instead of just watching how they do it. I mean, there's benefits in it as well, but to me, I want to know a little bit more specifics of like why their design choices are such, or things like that, or what's their preparation to getting into something like that. And some talk about it, some don't. Feeling a little bit too round, and I want kind of a point in there. Not a point, but to be weighted right there. Feel like that forearm is still feeling long, but maybe it's just not. Maybe it's just missing a little bit of girth. Let's see if I can just inflate this part just a titch with my inflate brush, just to get that form that I'm looking for. Kind of just looking. It's looking just a tiny bit too skinny, but. Just moving that right there. We'll do it too. I'm just gonna sit and sculpt for a while. If there's any points that I want to make, I'll kind of stop and talk to you guys. Mainly, I'll speed up this section. Mainly, I'm just refining the decisions that I've already made. Like I've just talked about how I hate watching speed sculpts, but I feel like I've discussed enough of what is important to me, and the techniques that I'm using, that you guys can kind of pick that up and start making some decisions on your own. So this next part, I'm just gonna kind of speed through this, watch, see if there's anything that is of help to you. So now I wanted to bring this back to kind of show you the techniques I use to like bring things together and keep a really like fine edge. Because right now like the cheeks are separated and I want them more or less together. So an easy trick that I do is I just use my inflate brush and go a little bit wide, tall with it, with bigger, and I just start tapping on the inflate brush to bring those together. And that creates a really clean, like it actually looks like two cheeks squishing together, which is what I want. Even though you're not going to see this, I still feel like it's important. The last thing I want to see is a lot of flat asses out there. I want to see some good looking asses. Again, we're getting kind of that, those landmarks that we want. You might see these, those back dimples. Most likely not. It'll just be they're in the wrong spot anyways. I'll fix that. I actually don't think I want to add on my whoops. I just want the taper this just a little bit more. Have the spine start showing up just better. Okay, back to speeding. Okay, I think with those little refinements now, she's in a pretty good spot to start, figuring out the rest of her, like the head, the hands. I'm sure will just move back into place because they were moved, because her proportions were just a little off. Let's see. Take the hands. I'm gonna keep them more or less the same size. Oops. Just knock them back into place. So her elbow meets up with her belly button. Her hands meet up with the upper, 3/4 of the thigh. Okay, that works for now. The last thing I want to do before I start on the head, well, let's finish this video. This video is done. And maybe just some little refinements actually on the calf before we do that. I just see a little bit of like warbly stuff going on. It bugs me. So I need to fix it, because if I don't, then I won't be able to sleep at night. Okay, now with this done, we're going to move on to the next video, which is the head.